most web applications are created using JavaScript, does not mean that you can't use Python for web development, but it's used for mainly used for backend using databases like Obi or libraries like Django for your backend stuff. So Python is used for cybersecurity oriented stuff, and then you can still use it for advanced. You can still use your Python for the advanced part of Excel. Now, when you want to go into data analysis and other stuff, other data related calculations, you use Python for it. So now Python is very easy to learn. Easy, I think one of the most easiest programming language so far. When you compare it to Java and C Sharp and other languages, it's very, very easy. Very easy to like learn. Easy syntax. You don't have to call like C Sharp now you have to do in integer before you call the variable name, and then you start giving it which a kind of signed integer or unsigned integer. No, all those ones are stressful. So for Python, you just go straight to the point and you just declare your variable and say, okay, in my variable now is boy equals to Ade. Very simple. So that's why it's very easy to learn. Versatile, it works everywhere. It's easy. It just is an interpreted and compiled language. So you just have to have the Python interpreter on your system and it's easy to run. Okay, so that's for Python. Now, for let's look at Java. Now, so Java is a platform, it's an independent platform. It's still object oriented and robust. It is used for Android app development, web development, and enterprise software, large communities, and library like Spring and Hibernate. So now, when they mean something is object oriented language, now means that you can create objects from it. Now, you can still create objects on Python, but for Java, you can create it focuses more on that object oriented, like JavaScript and Java. So now, Java is independent on its own. You can use it to create web applications. You can use it to create large. It's and tolerate large amounts of data. Like what I mean by, you can use it for your Android development when you want to do Android for mobile, iOS, any of all those platforms. So you can use Java for it. Then for web development, you still use Java for web development. So the next is the JavaScript and the C Sharp. Okay. So JavaScript is used everywhere. It's one of the most popular used languages right now. So it's dynamic, it's versatile, and you must use JavaScript in your web development because every library in web development, React, JS, Node.js, Angular, they're all using JavaScript as a base. So without learning JavaScript first, you can't use those other um, functions of like React or Node.js. So you cannot say you're learning web development and then you leave JavaScript out of it. That's what we mean by it's ubiquitous to web development now. So when you're learning web development, you must learn JavaScript hand in hand, just like you're learning HTML and CSS. So JavaScript will follow along with it. So that's for then it's used for both front end, back end, and mobile apps too. So for the front end aspect, you'll be looking at React, React.js, and then for the back end, you'll be looking at Node.js. So now Angular is when you want to deal with mobile apps. So for the front end and then for the back end, most beginners now will say, okay, they want to use a Python. If you want to use Python, you can use the Django and replace it for Node.js. But it's best advised to use JavaScript. Why? Because it has a very vast ecosystem. What I mean by there are more tutorials, more people that are focused on those aspects already. So they are it's very beginner friendly. So when you have issues in your code, you can go somewhere and they will have solutions to it because people have already gone through that same process you have gone through before. But when you want to use another language now for the Java for your web development, it's like you are starting afresh and you want facing and solving your own problems since people don't use that part. Not that those languages can't do the same job JavaScript is doing. No, they can do those jobs, but the community using that language is not as vast as the community that is using JavaScript. So for C sharp now, C sharp is a high level language, or should I say, yes, it's a very high level language because it uses bit-sized operations. Like you can control every single thing on your C sharp, from the amount of space you want to use for each. So C sharp is very controlled now. So when I mean controlled now, you are setting every single thing. It's if you don't initialize a variable, it's going to a particular place. Once a variable is initialized, it's stored in a different place. So it has precise controls its its uses. So it's used for operating systems. Now it's used for vast things because where you want to monitor your language till the dot, till you want to know each and every one of your stuff is using, then you go for C sharp. Where you want to control it to the bit size of what you want to do. So now it's used for games, used for operating systems and high performance applications. Now, so the only drawback to C sharp is that it's, for me, I don't know about other people, but it's very taxing when you want to learn it because it's it's very, if you want to compare it to languages like Python and JavaScript, it's very complicated. Now, for Python, as I mentioned before, you just declare your variable and it's done. But for C now, you have to declare the type of variable it is first before you name it, and then you can now choose to initialize it. So now there are now different sides of the sign attached to it. Now, if it's a negative integer, you have to give it to the sign to the unsigned the sign integer. Then when if it's a positive, has more contacts, like has more vast data types compared to the other languages. So that's for C. Then for the use of each of those ones that we've talked about before now. So for web development, you have JavaScript and Python. JavaScript is on top because it has more uses than Python in most cases. Then for your mobile app development, you use Java and JavaScript. Then for your game development now, you use C Sharp and Java. Then for data analysis, you use Python and R. Okay. So I said data analysis before. Python is meant for data analysis. Python with advanced Excel. So you use it for data analysis. Then each of the other ones I've mentioned them before while I was explaining. So I think that's on. Does anyone have a question for me?
Okay, you can go ahead and ask us the questions.
Okay. So if you're listening, I would like to know which the first question is, which language is best suited for creating web pages, interactive client-side functionalities? Okay.
JavaScript.
Oh yes, thank you. That's correct. So for the second question, it's which language pairs are commonly used in web development? Select all that apply.
HTML, CSS, Java, and JavaScript.
I can't hear you more.
HTML, CSS,
Okay.
JavaScript, and also, yeah,
Okay.
JavaScript.
Yes, thank you. You are correct. So I think that's all. So I'll sharing my screen now.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
thank you so much, Emmanuel, for the presentation. Just that the environment is quite dark, very dark, so we didn't really get to see